Always nice taking a step back and paying a little homage to the great history of Gulfstream Park, and that opened a real nice monument to the last few years. In fact, well over a half a century. As Ron Nicoletti and Jason Blewett join you, it's good to have you with us, everybody, on a Thursday afternoon. Picture perfect day for thoroughbred racing here in Hallandale Beach. Weather is terrific, maybe a little on the chilly side this morning. In fact, Ronnie broke out the scarf on the way to work today because it was in the high 40s.
He's turned into complete Floridian. He's only been down here less than a year, and he's already got a scarf on today. It's going to be in the 60s today or something. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. The most important part is the skies are blue, the main track is fast, and the turf course is firm.
As we come up on a big Thursday, and that will follow a real nice Wednesday as we kicked off Sunshine Millions a week here at Gulfstream yesterday with 10 races, and I would have to say the star of the day was Impact Player, who won the featured 9th race for trainer Todd Pletcher with an 85 buyer, and you get the sense that his next start, wherever it will be in stakes company for that son of the late City Zip. Now, looking ahead to Friday, and we don't want to rush things here because this is a very good Thursday card that has a heck of a featured 4th race with a couple real talented layoff runners, but do take note that Friday's Beat the Expert and our good buddy Acacia Courtney's up. We make it as easy as possible to sign up. You could do it over at GulfstreamPark.com.
Yeah, and it's really a lot of fun. And last week, a bunch of people beat me, and that's what happens on some Fridays. And you get a chance to win one of those cool polo shirts that say Beat the Expert right on the sleeve. And as we mentioned, each and every week, play along with us. Call, text us. Let us know what's going on with your selections throughout the day.
All right, the 4th race today, which we will get to momentarily, has Malagasy, Recruiting Ready, and Sonic Mule. Definitely 3 stakes quality runners. In fact, a couple of prior stakes winners from 2017. Now, a little rundown as to what's on tap today. We have a couple of key carryovers throughout the afternoon on this January the 18th, and that begins in race number 1 with the field of 7 of older fillies and mares on the turf. 3,100 plus, almost 3,200 in that super high 5 in race number 1. That is also the starting point, the first piece of the puzzle. That is the 50-cent early pick 5. And moving a bit later, Ronnie, nice drum roll, yeah. 2.42 million.
2.42 million in there, and I think we're going to be touching $3 million today in that pool, so we'll see how things work out. That's races 5 through 10, and the beauty of this wager, you get a chance to take it down with one 20-cent ticket. Got to get lucky, but you can do it.
And it goes full circle as race number 6 today on this 10-race January 18th card kicks off that 50-cent late pick 5. In fact, without further ado, fast and firm, let's dive into that first pick 5 as Ronnie and Jason are just so happy you're with us here. And what are we doing in this early pick 5? Let's take a look. And I, in fact, have a single right off the bat. Although she's going up in class, the last victory, which was not a coincidence that powerful effort was off a trainer change to Marcus Vitale. I think she can even find herself closer to the pace today if she gets off a little cleaner. She's the anchor at a $27 play. That includes a very competitive second race. What do you think in a nutshell, race number 2? It's a hard race, Ronnie.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, you have the 156. I actually have the 4 Flashing Diamond because one of my favorite angles, a 3-time winner. Nobody else in the field is a 3-time winner.
Now, the 3rd race, I think Solve might just be the right horse in there. I almost singled him. You got him on top. He'll be favored for trainer Scooter Dickey and is likely, I would say, to be having dinner in somebody else's barn via the claim. 4th race, I use the big 3. I'm wondering if a scenario presents itself in which Recruiting Ready might go favorite in that short 6-horse field, but I think Sonic Mule's going to run well. Obviously, Malagasy, his name is just, it's such a nightmare to say. You want to say Malagasy, Malagasy.
This is the way they told me to say it. Acacia told me, Malagasy.
There you go. He's got it all hyphenated out and broken up into, well, it looks like my first grade English class. Anyway, and we had a very key scratch in the 5th race today. Dude is out, and that means we only have one dude in there, and that includes the 9 Bragg dude, who I did use on my ticket. I was going to say, we got 2 two dudes who are also known as the resident knuckleheads here at Gulfstream Park. But again, just getting underway with about 53 minutes or so before the first race. And let's talk a little bit about Gracie Spirit. And you're not so bullish on her to come back and make it 2 for 2.
No, I put her in third and everything like that. And I mean, she's stepping up to the next logical level. And you mentioned she rallied last time from 10 lengths off the pace to win. Thought it was a pretty good performance.
Oh, it was an incredible effort, and she was well back. Marcus Vitale had won a couple of races the day before, and she was coming back on a Sunday looking to finish off a big Marcus Vitale weekend here, and no shot, top of the stretch. I remember watching this and saying, well, she got off in a tangle, got shuffled back a bit. She's the gray inside, and she still has no chance. I mean, all right, let's just freeze it there just for 2 seconds. So here's Montalvo, Carlos Montalvo, who's back aboard today. He's got these 3 fillies in front of him. Here is one of the legends, part of the fabric here at Gulfstream Park in Fallen Leaf, who brought ESPN out here last summer. There's just no way that Gracie Spirit is going to get up from where she is and win this race. Not only does she win, she finishes up like a freight train and won this race going away.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of knew she was going to catch Fallen Leaf, but the other 3, I thought they would mow on, and she just mowed them down. A very good performance. I mean, I got her on the ticket, but sort of like the pace has to be perfect for this horse to win it again, but would I be shocked? No. But I did go with a horse on top of my ticket who's currently the 9-5 favorite very early in the wagering, and that's Lady Coventry. Faced better on the turf in the past. Now goes back to the grass this afternoon at the 16 level after finishing, I thought, an improved second when facing those non-winners of 3 competition, 7/8 in the main track. Tyler Gaffalione, Ralph Nix in the saddle this afternoon. That's where I ended up going, but I went 3 deep in this race myself.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
And Tyler, by the way, looks for his 43rd win on the winter meet here at Gulfstream. As we turn the page, we get on to race number 2, hit the main track for the first time, and we stay with the gals here. 3-year-old fillies following the older fillies and mares in race number 1. We'll see the starter in the second race, a $25,000 claimer at 3/4 on the main track. For this level, and we talked about my early pick 5, and obviously Ronnie and I have a little bit of a disagreement here. I think this race came up as tough as this condition could possibly come up. Now, 40 kilos for me, I think she may get a good pace to attack here, and any horse getting a trainer change, no matter who the previous barn is, if you're going first out for Navarro off the claim or trainer change, I'd say that's a pretty good thing considering the run he's been on of late. And I do believe this is just a case of 40 kilos getting back to what she wants to do, and that's being a late-running one-turn sprint closer.
Well, that's what she'll be doing this afternoon. And like I said at the top of the show when you were talking about your pick 5 ticket, one of my favorite angles that I always follow, Flashing Diamond, the only 3-time winner in the field, will try making 2 in a row, responded to the drop down with that commanding score against 16 claimers. She's done something no one else in the race has done. That was my angle there. Using Tactus in second and Marie Elena in third.
It's a big drop down for her.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and look. Of course, you always have to, when you're putting your ticket together, go look down and say, where is Jose Ortiz? Where is Irad Ortiz? Where is Tyler? And, of course, where is Jorge Navarro?
And in the case of Jose Ortiz, he's coming out of a 3-win Wednesday afternoon. Won the nightcap, in fact, with that Barkley tag trainer change for as much as he pleased. And with him taking the call, and again, I think distance limitations caught up to her last time. I know she was a big favorite. I am not holding that 1-mile race against her. I think she's better when she can just run at 3/4, settle, make that one run, and a good spot for 40 kilos first time out for Navarro to rebound. As we stretch out on the main track, tough crew of older horses. I mean, these are some hard hitters here, Ronnie, as these $12,500 claimers go postward. And much like that early pick 5 comment for race 3, I considered using more than just Gracie Spirit in the first race and anchoring the ticket with the number 3 Solve, who's likely to get claimed today, but seems really well meant. We'd love to see Scooter Dickey get off the duck, and I think he's in the right spot.
Well, Solve is dropping to the 12-5 open claiming level after following his 3rd place finish in the claiming crown Iron Horse. And then he comes back and he runs 3rd behind a repeat winner called Kenani, who we'll see in race 6 this afternoon. That was a 10 optional claimer at the distance. this is the spot for this horse. Got to win here, I think, with the 12-5.
I feel that's the case with Gaffleone riding. I tried, speaking of Jorge Navarro, to really bump up and beef up that exacta payoff a little bit with the inside runner Niche, who, not getting too creative here, I just felt he probably needed his last, did a little too much too soon, running off and hiding, and had nothing left for the stretch drive against a better field of Florida-bred optional claimer types. And I'm going to go the old 3-1. You, however, also have an inside post, the old 3-2.
Yeah, Gatsby Tavern moved to the Bobby DeBona Bond via the claim. I want to show you a stat on Bobby DeBona over the last year. First start after claim, he's 7 for 14, 50%, 57% in the money with over a $4.25 return of investment. So we were just talking in the previous race, you have to watch certain people as the championship meet unfolds. First off the claim, has been a good angle for Bobby DeBona. You get a bit of a price with this horse, and that was my thinking in here.
For more of a mom-and-pop stable, he's done an outstanding job. Since I arrived in Florida, and I love how you just have it, Ronnie, the past 12 months. What have you done for me lately?
Right.
Well, that's batting 50%, and Gatsby Tavern has run some nice races in the past. Another nice layer, and competitive layer, in a very wide-open third race that does center around Solve. Fourth on the afternoon, it'll go as our West Point featured fourth race, and it is a hard-hitting crew of older horses here ready to rumble at 3/4 on the main track. We go with a field of 6. Trainer Todd Pletcher sends out a third of the field. He's got Sonic Mule, who's got recency over Recruiting Ready, and his stablemate in Malagasy. As we go back and take a look, and this horse obviously was much talked about, had a pretty big bandwagon heading into the Arkansas Derby by virtue of winning his first couple of races at Gulfstream last winter, and not only winning his first 2 by a combined 22 lengths. For me, though, the question becomes, ultimately, even though he sprinted with success last winter, he's coming off a near 280-day layoff, seemed to just really tail off after running 5th in the Arkansas Derby, and does land in a very, very deep spot. If he's going to come back the horse that he was, if not a little better, he's going to need every bit of that old-time ability to really make his presence felt today in the 4th.
Well, here was my thought process of putting the horse on top. First of all, Todd Pletcher, everything he sends out seems to be running spectacularly, but I want to show you stat on Todd Pletcher. With this horse, layoff of 180 days with horses going from a route to a sprint. He's 8 for 53, 34%. He's in the money 62% of the time, and a positive return of investment. So, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Any one of these 3 horses we're going to talk about can win this race.
And Recruiting Ready, and again, I am very anxious, and this is irrelevant as to who may win, but in a field of 6 with his blazing speed, and Malagasy's not slow by any means, but the real speed here, I think, is Recruiting Ready. And I'm just curious to see how much separation there'll be between Malagasy from the rail and the speedy Recruiting Ready, who's 9 to 5 on the morning line. Now, he's got that lengthy layoff to contend with as well, as he has not raced in 222 days. The finest moment of his career was undoubtedly the Preakness undercard last May 20th up at our sister track, Pimlico Racecourse, when he made all the running in the $200,000 Chick Lang, drew off and hid, but again, he ran 3 weeks later. He was 3rd, beaten a pretty good ways by the talented American Anthem in the Grade 2 Woody Stevens. How does Recruiting Ready do today off the layoff?
I mean, this is where the guesswork comes in. I mean, put him on the ticket, multiple stakes-winning son of algorithms, and I just think that this horse, if he comes with his A game and he's the speed of the speed, and especially if they're tracking, maybe playing that way, he could be very dangerous in here. And once again, not to harp on it, but I think the 3 that we talk about, I wouldn't be shocked if anyone wins it.
No, and Sonic Mule, who I went with on top, he's got recency. Is he as good as Malagasy or Recruiting Ready? He's not. But again, he's run recently. They haven't. He'll be a much bigger price. And he's a better horse. When I went back and looked at his resume, he's a better horse than I had originally given him credit for, even heading into his last race, which, by the way, chased outside against a rail and an inside that was very strong, that included XY Jet in the Mr. Prospector.
Yeah, the grade 3 Mr. Prospector, XY Jet. What a comeback for that horse. So it was, I mean, Sonic Mule second on my ticket, so I think you might have the right horse there, but he's got the recency with 2 big layoff
No
horses.
doubt. I mean, that's what it comes down to in race number 4. As we turn the page, we get on to race number 5 after taking just a little breather here on the show. Mr. Monday, Rainbow 6 for 2,000 plus. Back at it today, so don't go anywhere.
On January 27th, the world's richest thoroughbred horse race returns. The Pegasus World Cup Invitational. 12 of the world's best horses compete for a record $16 million purse. It's an unforgettable entertainment experience you won't want to miss. At Gulfstream Park, one of Florida's premier entertainment destinations. Tickets on sale now at PegasusWorldCup.com.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet, we are racing.
Just under 45 minutes out from that Thursday opener on a beautiful Thursday, January 18th here at Gulfstream Park. Ronnie and Jason back with you as we settle in and target the final 6 races today, my friends. What about the Rainbow?
Well, I will show you my ticket, and I got one single this afternoon that I found that comes in race number 7, and that is the 7 Congruity. I think that's the horse. So I was able to go deeper. Now, as you mentioned at the top of the show, big scratch in here with the number 2, Dude. So I went 3 deep in here. And that's my single. I got to see if I can get this thing done for $43.20 this afternoon.
And there's some guesswork. And the good thing about the guesswork in race 5, who losing the DePaz-trained Dude horse in from Maryland, major scratch, and that really, again, put a horse who was here and kind of win or lose, everybody else was over here. He's out of the equation. So I am happy, at least as far as the Rainbow goes, that you'll be able to see who they're betting, because there's not much to hang your hat on as far as prior turf form, and even as far as prior form in general, because you've got nearly a handful of first-time starters. And with the favorite, morning line favorite out, I scratched into a rare firster for Jorge Navarro in the number 1, We Take Checks. Pretty amazing with the trainer who ran almost 500 horses in 2017, a barn that's only had 40 first-time starters over the last 5 years, winning with 8 of them, but on the turf, 0 for 4. Kind of goes against the grain of a typical Navarro horse, but that's where I went. And in fact, you and I are going to box the exact.
Yeah, and what I wrote in my analysis today is just the tote action. I think I'll tell you a little bit about more. This horse's chances, you're absolutely right. Good that it's in the first leg of the Rainbow Six. But I got bumped up to Bragg Dude, the number 9 horse, who's dropping into a competitive spot today after I thought a well-meant second place, finished 2 starts back at the 25 level. Then he comes back, has a bit of a rough outing. He broke out when he was 5th. It was at the $50,000 level. Looks like they're searching for this horse. I think with the scratch of the 2, it helps this horse immensely. It's Juan Rodriguez, and he's got our leading rider, Luis Saez, in the saddle. You mentioned 1, We Take Checks, and I threw the 8 in like you did. 2 ways, who's going to get Lasix today. Maybe he played last time out, didn't run bad, was 4th.
That's a good move for this trainer as well. That is Eduardo Caramori, who's 9 for his last 41 over the last 5 years. First Lasix, above 20% with a nice healthy ROI. As we are halfway home, that means, well, we're passing the half-mile pole to our inside, and we're coming towards the top of the stretch momentarily on this 10-race card as we stretch out around 2 turns for the opening leg of Thursday's Late Pick 5. And much like Ronnie's Rainbow, I am going to single. And normally I tend to shy away from horses previously trained and then claimed off of Chad Brown. He is not an easy person, needless to say, nor does he have the operation that I'd be running to the windows to claim off of. But it does appear it's twofold. Danny Gargan been terrific with his Gulfstream starters already, and that's obvious. And I also think Congruity in race number 7, Ronnie, found a really, really soft spot to make his Gulfstream debut.
Yeah, and that's what was my thinking, too. It's the spot more than anything else. I think that's the logical single on most people's tickets today. But if you have that chance and you got a single somewhere else, maybe go a little deeper in there and knock a couple of people out of the Rainbow Six and the Pick 5.
A couple of key layoffs in the 8th race. And if I could go back and do it again, I might include the Shug second-time starter Pendant, who's coming out of a pretty deep 6-horse cast up at the Big A Breeders' Cup weekend, and then a 2-horse spread. And King Angeles, he's got the target on him today, a real bullseye. He looks a little faster, a little better. If I was putting in multiple tickets, he'd be one I consider pressing and singling on a second series of late pick 5s. And I have no clue in the 10th race. That race is so hard. How many did you use in that race?
I used 4 in that race.
You went 4 deep.
I went 4 deep. That's where I went to 4 deep. I was able to use the single there, and that was the reason, because I couldn't figure that race out either. Got my long shot in there with the 3-horse, and I just thought maybe this horse had a little bit of a shot, had trouble last time. It's more of a trouble trip than anything else. I think it's 8-1 on the morning line. Let's miss Biandete Rey got caught. If you go back and look at this horse's last race, was in a duel to the wire, and then this horse come flying on the outside to catch it. So a bit of a shot.
She's got some okay turf races.
Didn't like the favorite.
Yeah, the favorite on the outside, who's a clear favorite at 2-1. I was not enamored. I've got that horse fourth, but almost reluctantly so. But anyway, that's down the line in the 10th. Let's begin it again. The fact that we go 1 mile and a 16th on the main, do keep in mind, opening leg of the late pick 5 is a first finish line race, and maybe that'll move up to 2 Mal Guapo, who's one of 5. I mean, you've really got a whole army coming out of the 10th race here just a few weeks ago on December 29th, and that opening comment for my late pick 5 is, this race is all about Kenane.
Yeah.
Whether he is going to come back and win. Was this race we're about to show you a bit of a fluke, or is he just that much improved for Tammy Levy, and is he a horse who's quite simply in beast mode? Now, this was not a race that just fell into his lap. He was up close, stalking wide, 3 to 4 wide throughout, put in that game 5 wide sweep on the far turn, and nobody laid down and gave him this win. He earned every inch of racetrack that he possibly had to back on December 29th. He far exceeded my expectations of him this day, and obviously I think a lot of people's, because he was almost 20-1. Has he really turned a corner, or was that race a little bit of a fluky effort?
It's a little bit of fluky, and the horse is going to head to uncharted territories today. He tries 1 mile in the 16th for the first time after posting those back-to-back victories in a mile. So I was a little concerned about, can he do that in 1 mile in the 16th? He looks like a mile specialist after those last 2 wins there, and that was my thought process by putting him second like you did.
Yeah.
Now, the horse you had to talk about, Guapo, but I want to tell you about the 6 real quickly, Montclair. Montclair is trying to main track after 31 races on the turf after shipping.
I think you're crazy picking this horse, and I gave him a good look with service, but let's hear
He finished fourth. He was beaten length in the 25 optional claimer on the turf. So I went and got a staff of Jason Service. At turf to dirt, second after the layoff, he's 8 for 35, 23%. He's in the money 50% of the time, and he's got a $1.77 return of investment. So I just thought that maybe that with that angle, and the horse ran exceptionally well last time out. And if you want to respect somebody doing something, Jason Service must know why after 31 races,
I know.
he's putting this one on the turf.
It's such a weird spot for Montclair with a tried and true old-time turf class horse to try these horses on the dirt. It makes very little sense in my mind, but maybe that's the way you want to go. And I certainly, who am I to question anything Jason Service does? Huge fan of his. You mentioned the 2 turns with Kenane. That's, if Mal Guapo's going to turn his form around, because his last 2 races have not been pretty at all, I think it's the stretch out back around 2 turns where he's able, with that first turn as the controlling speed, I hope, to get himself in that groove. That first turn, as opposed to those 1-turn races with that long backstretch run at the 1-turn mile. That first turn, when you're going a couple of turns, slows horses down, and I think that moves him up. At least that's my thinking with Edgar Zayas, who can ride a speed horse as well, if not better, than anybody on this circuit. But a good field in race number 6. 7th on the afternoon, here we go with Congruity. He'll be a big favorite. And again, normally I shy away from any horse, no matter who's training it, when they're claimed out of Chad Brown's barn. In fact, over the last 5 years, 117 horses have run back after being claimed away from Chad. Only 12 have won for 10% in that sample. However, Gargan's going good, and if you were going to hand-pick a spot down here to try the turf with Congruity, I don't think you could have found an easier race.
And he comes out of a really good race up at Aqueduct, a key race in that $50,000 event, produced a pair of next-out winners. So off that, and that was it. You got to make us, you know, if you're going to put it together, a ticket that we think is affordable for us to bet, you got a single somewhere, and that was it. I used The Moment Is Now in second, and Claret Jug in third.
And for me, my second horse, Repair the World, who's out of a fairly prolific dam. Her horses, and her name is Shades of Grace, have at times sold for a lot of money. And it's very more of a blue collar as far as performance goes, family. But she's had a bunch of multiple winners on the turf, and no knocks on the connections here with Erod Ortiz and Brian Lynch from the outside.
Let me show you a quick stat on Claret Jug. Dale Roman's maiden special weight to maiden claimings on the turf. Just straight out, he's 7 for 46, 15%, 48% 8% in the money with $1.20 return of investment.
All right, fair enough. Let's turn the page. Final dirt race on the day goes as race number 8. These are older $50,000 maiden special weight types battling a one-turn mile. And much like the 4th today with Malagasy and recruiting ready, really is about the well-connected marquee layoff runners, at least going in with the 5 Brooklyn Bobby, who, speaking of Brian Lynch, he's right back with Jose Ortiz with a 4-year-old who's off about a 29-week layoff, and then leading trainer Todd Pletcher, who's got the speedster from the outside and driven to compete.
Yeah, Brooklyn Bobby, son of Frankel, making his 4-year-old debut. That first start, he's responded to a switch from turf to dirt with a 3rd-place finish, going a mile in 16th up at Belmont back in June. It was an okay performance, but I really respect Brian Lynch, why I put that one on top and driven to compete in 2nd.
Yeah, we'll see if this is a turf prep for Brooklyn Bobby. I was not enamored. He didn't run poorly per se. Wasn't overly enthused with his lone dirt start. He was very one-paced, had no real punch, but it was against a good field. And in the case of driven to compete, you've got Pletcher, who just seems to win with these horses. In fact, here's a stat, Ronnie. On the dirt, 6 months or greater off the layoff, first time in a route race, Pletcher's 6 for 10. On the dirt, 6 months or greater between starts, going sprint to route, he's 8 for his last 12. So, I mean, he's got 2 stats, and a number of those winners were right here at Gulfstream Park. A number of those stats work for driven to compete. I'll tell you, though, pendant, and I almost pulled the 95 Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies with this one's Damn, My Flag, winning in the slop at Belmont. I'm a little annoyed I didn't pull it for this show. He rather, excuse me, a 4-year-old. I think he's eligible to obviously really step up second out.
Yeah, you mean he's a half-brother to the $1.9 million earner. Storm Flag makes his first start. He failed to show much, but it's shug. I like the breeding. And you got, this is Phipps stable, of course, homebred. Luis Saez in the saddle.
Right, Storm Flag flying. That's been the star of the family. And that race, that 6-horse field he's coming out of, won by Westwood, seems to be a very live race. Some horses have run really fast exiting that one. 9th on the afternoon, and we'll do the late double fairly quickly here as we come up on these newly turned 3-year-old turf horses on the turf at 7.5 furlongs. And a case of King Angelus, like I said, having the bullseye on his back today. Anybody that said, you know what, he's a single, I want to play a budget-minded Rainbow Six, and let's show you one of his victories from not too long ago, in fact, in the case of King Angelus. Oh, no, rather we'll show you Seattle Treasure and Josie's Riddle, excuse me. I had a few replays here that I watched for this race. Now, this one took place December 31st. We have both Josie's Riddle highlighted and Seattle Treasure, and both of these horses ran really well here, as Seattle Treasure, to me, looks like a really dangerous type off the claim today for Ruben Gracida if King Angelus is the one that loses.
You know, moving to his barn, coming with it ahead of defeating those 35 claimers going a mile last time out. It's good performance last time out, but I'm in agreement with you. King Angelus, the one to beat in this particular spot.
Again, he's just done a little more. He's run a little consistently better, I think, against the best fields, but those horses obviously in that race from New Year's Eve, pretty evenly matched in the ability department, and we'll see how they do in the 9th. As we wrap things up with race number 10, these are older filly and mare. 2 lifetime $16,000 claimers on the turf at 7.5 furlongs. The more I looked at this race, the more confused I got. And in the end, I said, you know what? I just want inside post. And I do believe every bit of the one lady, Baby Bella, Elite Air, and even your long shot today, Miss B and Daddy Ray, I think they're all going to pull good trips. In fact, little Baby Bella probably will be stalking inside off what could be a very hot pace.
Yeah, and I just went with a trip. I was the same as you. I went with a trip note. I watched Miss B and Daddy Ray's last race. I thought this horse had a really good performance last time out. Just got caught by a horse that came flying at the end. And I was like you, just wide open in here. Figure, let me get my long shot in here. Maybe I get it home.
All right, well, we know one thing will be in store for a little Wu-Tang with Ronnie down the line in race number 10. But that's way down the line. A solid Thursday coming up. Heck of a 4th race today with Malagasy and recruiting ready. Pete Aiello will be coming up momentarily with those scratches and changes, and we'll be joined by Acacia Courtney all day long, so stay with us.